On a cold gray morning along the coast of Japan, local fishermen noticed something unusual drifting slowly toward the shore. First, they thought it was just another abandoned fishing vessel carried by ocean currents, but as the boat came closer, the fishermen realized something was wrong. The wooden ship looked old, far older than the modern boats that usually pass through these waters. Its paint was peeling, the windows were dark, and there was no movement on board. No crew, no voices, just silence. When the authorities finally boarded the vessel, what they found inside turned a strange discovery into a disturbing mystery. The boat appeared to have traveled across the sea completely on its own. But no one knew where it had come from or what had happened to the people who were once on board. This is the story of the mysterious ghost boats that sometimes wash up along the coast of Japan. Boats that arrive without warning, without identification, sometimes without anyone alive inside. For centuries, the seas around Japan have carried ships across vast distances. Ocean currents flow through this region like invisible highways, connecting countries thousands of kilometers apart. Most of the time, these waters carry fishing boats, cargo vessels, and shipping traffic between nations. But every so often, something strange appears. A silent boat, drifting alone, with no crew left to tell its story. These vessels are often referred to by locals as ghost boats. And while some of them have simple explanations, others remain deeply mysterious. One of the most unsettling discoveries happened when a small wooden vessel drifted onto the northern coast of Japan during the winter months. Fishermen first spotted the boat early in the morning, rocking gently in the icy waves. At first glance, it looked damaged but still intact. The engine was silent. The sails were gone. But the structure of the vessel remained surprisingly strong. Authorities were quickly alerted, and the local Coast Guard moved in to investigate. When officers climbed aboard the ship, they immediately realized this was no ordinary fishing boat. The design of the vessel did not match Japanese fishing boats. The writing on the equipment was unfamiliar. The layout inside the cabin looked different from what local fishermen were used to. But the most disturbing detail was the absence of anyone on board. There were signs that people had once been there. Sleeping areas, food containers, cooking equipment, but no crew members remained. Empty spaces where human life should have been. Investigators carefully searched the vessel for clues. They found clothing neatly folded in small compartments, fishing tools scattered across the deck, and several containers of dried food stored in the cabin. But there were no passports, no identification documents, no radio signals, nothing that clearly explained where the boat had come from. The investigation continued. Officials began to suspect that the vessel may have drifted across the Sea of Japan from another country. Ocean currents in the region are powerful enough to carry small boats across long distances. But even with that explanation, one question remained. What had happened to the people who were once on board? Some experts suggested that the crew may have abandoned the vessel during a storm. Others believe the fishermen might have run out of fuel and food before the boat drifted helplessly across the sea. But the condition of the vessel raised doubts. The boat did not show signs of violent weather damage. There were no emergency distress signals recorded. And the supplies on board suggested the crew had not been starving. Over the years, more mysterious boats have appeared along Japan's northern coastline. Some are discovered drifting far offshore before reaching land. Others wash up quietly along remote beaches. Each time, the story is almost the same. A boat arrives. The vessel is empty. The people who once sailed it are nowhere to be found. In some cases, investigators have discovered human remains on board. The vessels arrive completely deserted. Theories about these ghost boats vary widely. Some believe they are fishing vessels that lost power and drifted far from their original routes. Others think they may come from countries where fishermen travel long distances into dangerous waters, but occasionally the circumstances seem far more mysterious. One particular vessel that arrived along the coast caused significant concern among authorities. This boat looked far more deteriorated than the others. The wooden planks were cracked, the engine appeared broken, and strange markings covered parts of the hull. Inside the cabin, investigators found a collection of personal belongings, old clothing, small photographs, several handwritten notes in a language that investigators struggled to translate. Some of the notes appeared to describe long journeys at sea. Others mentioned storms and mechanical problems, but the final pages were incomplete. The writing simply stopped mid-sentence, as if the person writing had suddenly been interrupted. Despite extensive research, authorities were never able to fully determine the fate of the crew. Oceanographers later confirmed that strong winter currents in the region could carry small vessels hundreds or even thousands of kilometers across open water. This meant that a boat could drift for months before finally reaching Japan's shores. By the time it arrived, the original crew might have already vanished long before the vessel was discovered. Still, the repeated appearance of these mysterious boats has left many people uneasy. Fishermen who work along these waters say they occasionally see distant silhouettes drifting in the fog, shapes that look like small boats moving slowly with the current. Sometimes they approach and discover nothing unusual, but other times they report finding vessels that appear abandoned for weeks or even months. For local communities, These discoveries have become part of coastal folklore. Stories pass between fishermen and harbor workers about silent boats that appear without warning. Boats that carry traces of lives that once existed at sea, but no clear explanation of what happened to them. Even today, authorities continue to monitor the coastline for unusual vessels drifting toward land. Those discoveries eventually receive reasonable explanations. Mechanical failure, storm damage, navigation mistakes. Yet every once in a while, a boat appears that raises more questions than answers. A vessel that seems to carry a story lost somewhere between distant shores and the endless open sea. When one of these silent boats finally reaches land, investigators are left with the same haunting mystery. Where did it come from? What happened to the people who once sailed it? And how long had the vessel been drifting before anyone noticed it was there? For now, the ocean keeps those answers hidden beneath its dark and shifting waters. The ghost boats that arrive along Japan's coast remain one of the sea's most chilling and unexplained mysteries.
Okay, make sure you subscribe channel and like this video.